Hello all, I will be playing um, a real-time 1v1 auto game on Strat MME settings. And, well, I could go over the template settings. It's probably best to hop right into this. I'm doing this so you might be able to get an idea of my thought process as I um, go through the game. I'm just gonna join. My opponent is AI the Pillager. Is level 60. Um, as you might know, the Strat MME settings are manual random warlords distribution. Initial armies per territory is 4. Initial armies per turn is 5. Um, You can see the 10 wastelands on the board, and armies per neutral territory is 2 unless they're in distribution of 4. So I get 3 picks. Um, and generally, when I'm picking, I usually try and aim for 2 things. Well, 3 things. Balance, spread, safety. And usually on Strat MME, I'm looking to get 10, 11, or 12 income in 2 turns. It sort of just depends on what kind of picks I get. Anyway, so when I'm doing this, I'm going to start thinking, how might I get 10, 11, or 12 in 2 turns? And the first thing I notice about this board is that we have a first turn bonus on Scandinavian Peninsula, which means I can take this in 1 turn. I don't think it's that great, though, because it's counterable. You can counter it from Germany, or since there's 3 picks here, the FTB, like, one player might have Germany and Scandinavia, but if I have Moscow, I can just go straight in and counter that without a problem and pretty much win the game on the spot. So I don't necessarily like that. Instead, I tend to favor something like Southeast Asia. It has a direct counter, but the counter is wastelanded, so it's a little bit more problematic to counter like that. And I also really like South America because any counters you will get from it is something you will see. Like if your opponent's in Cuba, you will know that. Or if your opponents in Cameroon, you can just run to Brazil and see that before completing it and be able to respond accordingly. So I think these are probably 2 very good picks just from uh, a lay point. Um, I also think it's always good to try and guarantee that you're in like 2 different areas of the board at least, or perhaps 3. And the way you can do this is you're guaranteed to get either your first or your second and third pick. So that means if I pick first and third, I am guaranteed to get either my first pick or my third pick. Or if I pick 1 and 2, I'm guaranteed to get one of either my first or my second. So by combining my 1 and 3, I'm guaranteed to get one of these 2 picks and guarantees presence within this region. I think as well, because there is an FTB here, I would like to cover that. So I think the 4th and the 5th and the 6th pick. What's really nice about the 4-5-6 combo is that if you lose your 4th and 5th, you're guaranteed to get. If you get your 6th, you are guaranteed not to get your 4th and 5th. So by playing this way, if I get my 6th, that's really good because it's impossible to get your 4th and 6th. It's possible to get your 5th and 6th. So this is really nice for me if I get my 6th pick because I can just straight up counter this. So I'm gonna go ahead and commit and see what kind of um, um, bonuses or territories I get, and it looks like I'm gonna get my 1, 2, and 3 here. Unfortunately, just by the distribution of this board, the maximum income I'm gonna get in 2 turns is 9, but that's okay. Be fine. I suspect my opponent decided that they wanted to triple around the Scandinavian peninsula bonus, which, if they did, that means this game will be fairly straightforward to win. So I'm going to start by expanding and completing South America in 2 turns, because that is definitely my safest bonus, and most income I can get as well. So I'll start by doing that. And I'll take it no problem, keeping in mind that 3 will always take a 2. This is no luck settings, so 3 will always take a 2. I will also, probably this turn, take Congo, just so I can see. I want to see these particular, well, actually, it's not, yeah, I'll take Congo, and just so I can see, get intel on these particular warlords, just to make sure my opponent's not there. And I'll also take Nigeria. We'll do that this turn. So I'll have 9 income, but I'll have 13 the next turn. Yep, that'll be just fine. I'll sit in India, I think, as well. Alright, I have 9 income. I will take West Africa. I will also take in a territory in India, just so that I can take that the next turn. And I'll also start expanding in East China, so that I can take that in the turn thereafter. At least that's the plan of expansion. So, generally the way I like to play, although this is not necessarily always true, this is sort of like a rule of thumb, is I like to play and expand in such a way where I'm able to just continuously take bonuses in consecutive turns. And the reason for this is it ensures that I'm expanding quickly. One of the strategies here is you've got to be willing to are able to expand more quickly than your opponents, especially when you don't see them at first start. It becomes an expansion game. And like, especially with my suspicions that he probably tripled around Scandinavian Peninsula, which is okay. We can, he will have a little bit of a head start on the income count, but he ends up hemming himself in, and should be able to just pretty simply out expand him. I'm gonna take, I think, Niger, and I want to start getting towards Europe, because that's kind of my primary suspicion as to where my opponent is. So even though North Africa's a little bit more inefficient of a bonus to be expanding to than East Africa, I still think it's very important for me to get Algeria and start controlling this choke point, so that my opponent doesn't start expanding into Africa, which could be quite problematic for me. I'll continue by taking in East China as well. Okay. Well, turns out we have a little bit of a surprise here. Our opponent apparently did not triple around Scandinavian Peninsula like like a typical noob, but instead shows up in Malaysia with 2 armies. It's entirely possible that he completed that. So that's fine. We'll just stack Thailand and make sure that we're not having problems. I don't think it's smart to be trying to continue to take East China anymore. But we'll just see. So my initial assumptions were incorrect. He's in Australia. He probably completed Australia first. So on turn 2, he probably had 10 income. He's not going to reveal much more information than that to us, unfortunately, until I see what happens. But there's suspicion that he has Indonesia completed. We'll find out here shortly. He has slammed me for. Did he deploy? 24. That's quite a bit. 19? His income's at least 19. He's up 3 income. He must have comboed. Let's count. 7, 12, 17, 20. So let's assume 4, 5, 9, 14. He deployed 24, so 19. Okay, so 24, so 19. 5, 10, 14, 19? Seems weird. Definitely seems kind of strange to me. Yeah, I forgot to deploy I used my reinforcement card last turn, which is awkward. But we'll just see if we can deploy here to Thailand. I'm just curious to see if we'll see more. Okay, he's in China, which is really annoying. He's very aggressively playing. Um, so his other pick must be like East Russia. So 5, 10. Okay, so 14, 19. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense then. He's not playing very intelligently though. So this is where all his income's at. Okay. Okay. I think he tripled East Russia, West China, and he has Australia too. So he's quite a bit ahead in income right now, but I think we're fine now that I think about it. I just need to complete my safe income and try and smash him because he took a lot of income. Yeah, he's on probably 5, 10, 14, 20, 25. Yikes. A lot of income. See if we can pull this off. It might be difficult too. I think he's going to try and defend equally. Um, I think his moves are kind of very noobish, but he expanded very quickly. So I'm going to try and take Malaysia and push him down a little bit. Okay, he let me take Malaysia. Um, okay. Well, he's definitely not going to let me take Western Australia if I was to presume that. So I'm going to go after Borneo. I also need to do something to prevent him from taking back um, Southeast Asia. But if he does, I guess it isn't the end of the world. But I'm on. So he's on. I took down 4 of it. So 22? 22, I believe. 5, 11, 17, 22. Yeah, he's on 22 income. So I'm still quite a ways behind on income, but we'll try to pull this one off here. Okay, so we'll take Borneo. Um, yeah, I think he ends up he picks to get he's taking these very efficient East Russia and Australia, so he combo picked East Russia and China. Um, and he did so in such a manner where he took quickly. So we'll try and pull this one off here. Let's see if I can see if well, that doesn't matter if it's tech only because I'm still attacking. So we'll try and take Shaanxi. I think he defends. Um, and I'm playing an order priority and dodging into Borneo because I expect them to defend Western Australia or over defend it, and I expect I play over to delay because I don't think he defends West China with much. We'll try and see if we can. Okay, so he's going to take back. Okay, that's not so hot for us. 19. I think our contingency plan now is to let's see, 18, 19, 20, yeah, 15, 18. Have I expected? So he decided he wanted to take back on Bordia, like really a lot. Anything I can notice about his playstyle? Um, yeah, he doesn't like it when you break his bonuses. So I was kind of surprised. I was expecting a little bit more of an over defense here. So the player is not too bad. In fact, in some senses, I'm very much behind so far. He's completely ignoring East China, which is a little bit bothersome. A little bit weird, I should say. Um, right. So if he likes to stack a lot, into his bonuses, I think we want to. No, I don't necessarily like that move. Um, let's think about this for a little bit. He tends to stack back when you break a bonus. So there's two possibilities here. He'll try and complete Southeast Asia. Like, I should definitely work on East Africa here. Try and get a little bit more income. Or alternatively, it's a must to get something like East Russia broken and forcing him on to 14 and seeing if we can work with that. I don't know if it'll be, I don't think it's going to be very easy to win this. So I think we'll just go and see if he bites on Malaysia. I'm going to take Tibet. I'm going to take Sudan. And maybe should probably go 17, 18, 19. Perhaps an exact attack will help. Let's see if this will do it. Oh, okay, okay. Hit, hit, hit. Thank you. All right. I think we're in business here. I think we're in business here. Um, he's on 15 income. So he hit me back, which is a pretty nasty mistake. He tried to wipe me from China, and that's important. He keeps ignoring China, which is just really, really good for me. I need to try and complete East Africa. If I can somehow keep his bonuses broken while completing East Africa, I should be able to pull this one off. Um, Still a pretty yikes game. This is very heads up. I gotta be careful here. This is a tough match. So we're gonna go for the defense, and I hope I can draw it. Hopefully he deploys and draws his armies to Tibet. And then we'll try to break him from Malaysia, I think. So if I can do that, I can bring him down to 10 income. And that should give me the opportunity to complete East Africa. So we'll try that. I'll pull my armies back to Hong Kong first order. Because I am certain he's going to want to try and stack that out. I'm going to delay a little bit. Um, I know my opponent's not delaying. I'll hit Shaanxi with 3. And Western Australia first with 16 and Shaanxi with 3. Let's see if this works for us. Okay. Worked perfectly. It worked like a fiddle. We played him like a fiddle. Um, he's down to 10 income. I control. This is a pretty nice quarter, by the way. Is this quarter that extends from Western Australia to Malaysia, to Thailand, to Hong Kong, to Shanxi. Um, this corridor is really very much you control this corridor. You're literally controlling one, two, three, six bonuses. So he really wants to complete West China. Like, you can tell that. So I think our focus now is to just let him have it for a little bit. And I want to take the opportunity to take East Africa. I think my first order is going to be bringing my armies from Hong Kong to Thailand. And we're going to also take Beijing, because that'll provide us with a nice triple border. So first order is Hong Kong to Thailand. I'll take here in East Africa, and I'll be aiming for a scheme of it's going to be a 16 to 19 game. And that's the game I'm going to try and play to the long term, is the 16-19 game. So, um, I think the second order is going to be this, the 2 to Australia. Oh, he surrendered anyway. Which I guess is, I think, a little bit too early to surrender. I'll be honest, it's a bit early to surrender, but I would have loved it if he had played for me like just one or two more turns. Because after this point, he threw the game. Um, but yeah, my plan was to complete East Africa and bring my armies from Hong Kong to Thailand, so he would have gotten West China back. But in doing so, I would get the border on Beijing and would have had the triple border on his bonus. I wouldn't necessarily have an OP card, but I wouldn't necessarily be worried about that. Um, so in essence, with me just being stable in Malaysia and Thailand and just sitting on Western Australia, just moving nominally, I could just pull out a win here. Even though at one point I was down something like 9 income. So position was everything here. And when I'm down by this much income, I have necessarily no business in winning this. But he didn't delay at all. He just whacked me. Like, this move was killer. If he just sits his armies on Malaysia, I'm in big trouble. Like, there's no necessarily no chance, necessarily much of a chance of me. So he did not delay, and I only delayed a little bit, but it was enough for him to me to pull this game out because the counterattack was just killer. Um, it and while I was still behind in income here by a fair bit of margin, it's really easy then for me to realize uh my opponent's habits and break West China instead, and continue to realize my habits. So in this position, um, it's fairly clear to me um, that he really wants to take West China back. It's a big bonus. So yeah, my habit is to run. Um, of course, this was just a poor predict on his part. Had I run into King He or Inner Mongolia, I would have been screwed. But I chose Tibet to run to because it seemed to me the least likely territory. It's obvious that Inner Mongolia would be a clear territory to defend because gets me closer to double bordering Russia. And he protected King He probably because he was worried about me coming to Mongolia, which is another double border on Russia. So the least savory territory, at least to survive in, was Tibet. So I aimed for Tibet because it was um the territory that seemed like it that does as little as possible for me, but still keeps the bonus broken. And I have to play like this because I'm behind in income. Um, but because he plays so aggressively, I can just simply take back in Malaysia, and all of a sudden he's down by one income. Even though he has very good army advantage, he's down by one income. And then realizing once again, this is quite habitual of an inexperienced players that they'll want to say, look at where the armies are on the board now, right? So he'll want to smash Tibet. Um, which is was what was my prediction was he was being extremely reactive throughout this game. So I figured he'd probably smash Tibet or try to. So I was able to then retreat my armies back because I don't want my armies to get killed. I want to do whatever I can to preserve my armies, right? And he smashed Tibet. Um, this was a little bit more heads up by him. He actually tried to take. Actually, it's actually quite reactive to be honest, because he was assuming that I'd still have one army here. He's assuming I would deploy more to Tibet, essentially. So he was trying to secure the borders on China as well, but just by attacking with two, which clearly did not work in his favor. And once again, even though I didn't have a lot of delays, I had just enough, and was able to barely pulled off the 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 break, and subsequently he figured he couldn't play on 10 income. So even if I fail this break of West China, that isn't necessarily um the most devastating thing. That's a 16-16 game, which is okay. I'd still probably go for a very similar game plan where I'd try and stay in Thailand and stay alive in Malaysia and just take East Africa and aim for that 2016 game, which would have been favorable to me because then I'd have position even though he had armies, but I have income, so I'd be able to recover the armies eventually. So that's kind of what's a playthrough of a game. So yeah, his picks, um, actually to my surprise, he picked the Let's Savory combo. I thought he would have comboed East Russia and Mongolia, but he comboed East Russia and Indonesia. And Indonesia, this is quite a poor starting territory because it takes him three turns to complete Indonesia. And like I said, you want to be aiming for 2 turn income. So you want to be able to border all the territories within 1 turn. That's a good rule of thumb. So Solomon Islands warlord is not particularly savory. Um, okay, and yeah, it turns out okay with for him to see uses the one army he gets here um, to be able to have just enough to complete East Russia, which is why he was able to get so much income so quickly. So, expansion wise, it turns out okay for him, but I still don't think Solomon Islands was a very good pick. He could have picked something like a 5, and like if he picked something like Australia, Scandinavian Peninsula, and and East Russia instead of Indonesia. He picks Scandinavian Peninsula. Then he can complete a 5, then complete the 3, and then complete the 5 in succession. And by doing so, he actually ensures himself safe expansion in Europe, safe expansion in Greenland, safe expansion in West Russia, and there's nothing I can do. He just simply expands me and he wins the game. So I would say yes. My picks probably weren't the best of picks, but they were good enough in this case to win the game. And in these sort of real time situations where I don't necessarily have a lot of time to think critically about picks, you more or less play a play to try and break bonuses and outposition your opponent. And positionally speaking, I was much better, which is really what helped me to stay alive in this particular game. Um, that is all. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this.